Okay, so why y'all should read my book again? Another reason why you should read my book. The story, which I can kind of reveal now, because it's kind of the general story. There's a lot more to it, but you're going to see how it's going to unfold. And this is my way of doing an advertisement, for my own story. Because really, right now, what I want is people to read it, the rough draft, and tell me what they think. And that way, I can give you an idea of do we kind of change something. Also, because I kind of want to use that as leverage to publishers. I want to be able to say to people like, hey, I wrote a cover letter right now to somebody, and I said, I've posted like over 300 videos on YouTube, and I have like over 60 subscribers to me, and I've written 7 100-page novels, over 12 years, and 100-page plus novels in 7 years or 12 years, and so. Because that's what was mentioned, was that, if you approach us and you actually have publishing credit, you've actually been published, you're not big time, but, you've published before, somebody's published your work, that's going to help us, and I said, basically, I haven't been published, but I've done a lot of work, I've done some stuff, I kind of know what it means to be an artist, to produce something, so, this is why, this is why you should read my book, is that really what I want right now is just people to, subscribe to my Yahoo Groups page. This is my spam, my advertisement, but self-promotion. I want you to subscribe to it, and please read, the novel, the rough draft I've posted. So it's all there except for the epilogue, which is But anyways, the reason why you should read my story, by the way, is because I don't follow in this ridiculous Hollywoodized Disneyland world idea that there's an ultimate good, there's an ultimate evil, and you're going to be in the middle, and you're going to get swayed towards the evil, but you're going to eventually turn towards the good. It's like, no, that's not reality, and but at the same time, what is reality? Because reality is things are sustainable. Things, they actually, if things went a certain way, they would exist a certain way, kind of stuff. So that's why my writing, I really focus on reality. I don't like fantasy. I don't like magic even. It's because it's Deus Ex Machina. It's like, oh, and then God decided, right at this moment kind of thing. Like, no. It's because personally, I really don't believe in God. I don't believe in religion at all. I think it's all just a human creation, but it's a good human creation. It's what keeps order, in society. What's establishes harmony. But anyway, that's a whole other point. So I don't get into religion at all in my story. The relationship of the characters is a bit more kind of like Lord of the Flies kind of thing. That's actually what I was aiming for, was, you let loose some high school kids in an environment that, like they cross over into another world, and they can exist. They can, do whatever they want there. It's like nothing is going to hold them back. Nothing's going to restrain them. Damn cold. Anyways, but nothing, nothing contains them. They're considered men, and it's a very rough and tumble, like Old West style environment, but with swords and shields. And the reason why I like swords and shields and not guns is because guns inherently has a percent of chance in it, and that's where Deus Ex Machina comes in. This idea that, oh, well, God decided right then and there that gunpowder would not work, or that guy, it's luck, in other words. I don't like luck. I like just action A leads to result B kind of thing. There's a mathematical equality to it all. So it's not like you're not going to get the sense that there's puppets being displayed for you. And in fact, that's what my dad, he complained because he tried reading Lord of the Rings a long time ago, and he said, yeah, but I felt I was reading puppets, or like it was a bunch of puppets, like, yeah, and it kind of was, it's decent, good fantasy. It's what sets the stage, but it's for a child, it's for a child, it's really youth entertainment. I really like war history, and just World War II, big time, but also stuff earlier. I've read the Iliad, or at least most of it, and yeah, it's my story would be kind of like reading the Iliad, unfortunately. So there's a lot of violence in it, but it's realistic violence. You're going to see people just fight, and they're going to get injured, and they're going to get hurt, and they're going to get killed. And so I don't hold back on describing that, writing that out. And one of the first things mentioned, one of the characters says to another is that, God, listening to this guy talk is like listening to the Holocaust and the Civil War and a crusade all rolled into one. It's just like there's this ridiculous violence going on in this community, this environment that these people exist in, and it's very shocking. But at the same time, it's realistic. So that's the kind of neat thing about it. So, God, this would be kind of giving something away, but it. I hope people don't read it and think this is like reading a video game as a book. So, but then again, that might be kind of cool. So, but anyways, yeah. Well, there is a little bit of magic, and the way I describe the magic is, and because I freaking hate magic, I don't like it. So, but I had to write it in there. I described it the same way you use technology. So, how could you have technology interpreted as magic? And okay, yeah, and so everything is invisible, for one thing, but also, you're going to see a special forces team, like created out of these high school kids. And because to them, they're all playing a video game. They're just running around. They're killing. And they just learn stuff about magic and about themselves and just like how to forge themselves into living weapons. And to me, I think that's just like a really neat idea because that's what the military does, and that's kind of like, well, what if you had the opportunity, you could do something, you could be in this environment, So I think of my stuff more as history reflexive. Because what you'll see in the story is that these kids, they're, when they go to this other world, they're considered men, but they don't have anything in this other world. They don't have people, they don't have land, they don't have property. So they're considered vagrants and bandits even. They're almost feared to be bandits, so people really give them a suspicious eye whenever they walk around in town. And they got money and they got stuff to sell, and it's always like, well, where did you get this stuff? And it's like, well, they just went down to the corner store, just picked up a bunch of like just wooden things, and and like little metal knives and cutlery and stuff like that, and just sold it, and blankets, and just whatever these people had and whatever cost a lot of money, they just, okay, yeah, we got that on Earth, all right, and trade, and make a huge model off of that, and then they get stuff from the other planet, like they would pick up jewelry. Or swords even. And that's the other thing is that, you're going to see these guys just like loot like crazy. And so, I just think it'd be pretty neat. I write out the violence kind of like first person style, I say. So, yeah, that video game reference, but I don't gloss over the violence, in other words. I try to accurately as I can depict what's going on as two people are trying to kill each other. So, and I'm trying to convey that. I don't. That's why I dig war. Those war stories, because that is what these guys are engaged in. I want right now. God, I would just love to spend the rest of my years listening to war heroes recount the tales of their deeds to me, and I'd write it out. And the thing is, I'd write it out as a story. In a way, so it's not so much embellishment, but I would interpret things in a certain way. I would, add, in whatever way necessary, but I keep it realistic. So, like, whatever happened, I try to accurately as possible, and in a succinct way that the audience can understand, express, something in a very violent means, or that is a very violent, act, but in a way that the audience could interpret and actually kind of, understand and maybe even dig, So that could be one problem with my story, is that there's a lot of violence. So I, as the author of the story, even though there's a lot of violence in it, I don't think like really young kids should read this. So like 9 years old, no man, no, don't be reading this stuff. Like if you're 13 and maybe okay, if you're 13 and you're just kind of like, well, what like what could I do when I go into junior high and high school? What kind of life could I lead? I think, yeah, you could read my story and just kind of think about, well, what could you do with your life then? Because, my parents are school teachers, and I support the idea of educating the youth of America. And this is my way of educating the youth through a violent story, but you're going to see brotherhood, you're going to see unity of a group, and a group that's just going to, like, the group you would least expect to see this,